Hello, everybody. What I want to do is create a breakdown series of all these different new songs from Muse's album, Will of the People. It's one of the most incredible things that I've ever heard. And the first song I'm going to be going through is Ghost and really talking about what it means. So, what we're going to do is kind of listen along and pause so that way you can really understand the meaning of this song. And it's so much more than just a pretty piano piece and wow, Matt Bellamy has a great voice. This song is addressing some of the more serious struggles that people have been dealing with internally, especially over the past couple years, once they've realized that the life we all grew up knowing before is dead and gone. And it's so hard for people to accept that, especially when people still continue talking about it. But let's go ahead and hit play, and I'll talk about some of these lyrics as we go.
Now and then my mind drifts to a place where I find you. Lost in my head, there are unsolved feelings that haunt me. It's too late to heal, I'll lay them to rest. How can I move on when everyone I see still talks about you? How can I move on when all the best things I have we made together?
So it's talking about it being so difficult to move on from the life that we once knew. And we probably were very happy and very comfortable in the world of 2019 and beyond. I was born in 1989, so thinking about the graduating high school in 2007, when you're talking about Muse, or not just Muse, but Jimmy Eat World, Green Day, Avril Lavigne, like life was a little bit less confusing and contentious back then. And we were able to build so many great things. It was an age of unparalleled peace and prosperity all throughout the world. So again, how can we move on from that, especially when most people haven't realized that there's been this shift and the world is not going to be the same way that it used to be. But I think it's safe to say that most people haven't come to that conclusion yet, and they're still not seeing it, so it's tough.
Here's to letting go, but I am lost in a void with your ghost and our memories, lest we forget the great reset.
And yes, the song does transition into sweeping, beautiful piano lines and bars at that point. But very important thing that so many people have missed, or maybe they've been deleted from the comment sections, who knows. But that one line there, lest we forget the Great Reset, can only be interpreted one way by any rational person. That's the dividing line. The dividing line is the Great Reset, which long has been considered something that only conspiracy theorists and tinfoil hat people talk about. But the fact of the matter is, we are seeing an organized, intentional breakdown of the world that we live in. And why that's happening, they didn't even need to, because we're going through demographic collapse anyway. But that's another story for another day. But all that being said, the Great Reset is here, and life will never be the same. And it's so hard to lay to rest the knowledge, the feelings, everything that you had from before, and realizing that's going to be different. And there's things that we can do individually to try to hold on to the best parts of ourselves as the world is going through this transition period. But it's tough. And if you think about the way that the musical arrangement meshes with Matt's voice here, it is very haunting, and it's almost like saying goodbye to a loved one. As you're burying your innocence, you're burying the world as the way that you knew it before.
If I could bring you back, there are truths and confessions I'd tell you. I'd set things straight, and I believe that you would love and forgive me. I know it's too late, I need to let go. And how can I move on when everyone
So he knows it's too late. He needs to let go. And in a sense, that's kind of what we all need to do. Because once you realize that you can lament all night and all day about how things are different and how things are changed, and you're never going to see it be the same again, but you need to let go. But it's tough. It's a struggle. How do you move on? Because again, as we are sleepwalking off of a cliff as a civilization, it's really tough to truly let go of that, especially when you see fragments of the past and you find a way to maybe connect to something like, oh, I can turn on an NFL game and pretend like everything is normal and pretend like we're not in the largest financialized bubble in human history and pretend like there's not a war on energy, which is the foundation of all society, happening in a coordinated manner across the globe. I can pretend like I'm not noticing all these different regional conflicts or the precursors to World War III starting to pop off. And it's so tempting to want to dance with the past. But all that being said, I highly suggest listening to this track again with all of those different thoughts in mind, because it's going to really give a voice to a perspective that's not shared by a ton of people. But it's one of the most validating things that I think I've ever experienced in my life. Obviously, Muse being my favorite band since I was a kid, them coming out and putting this kind of music and these kinds of lyrics openly and literally calling out the Great Reset word for word is powerful. And they are more than a band to me at this point. These guys are heroes.